Hello, I'm Brenda Roberts, and this is Journey. Do you feel the shift? It is happening now, and our challenge on this journey during this accelerated time is to maintain our balance, integrate the higher frequencies of energy, and focus our thoughts on our preferred reality. For indeed, we are the creators of our own reality. Remember, you chose to be here for the ending of one cycle and the beginning of yet another journey. The past is history, the future a mystery. All we have is now, which is a gift from Spirit, and why we call it the present. Joining me on this journey is Mahala Gayle, and she's what I call a planet astrologer. She helps us look at the movement of the planets, aside from just the sun and the moon, all the rest of them, and how they play a role to help us navigate on this journey. Mahala, I'm so glad to have you again.
Oh, nice to be here, Brenda.
Yeah. Let's, we are just wrapping up one of the worst Mercury retrogrades that I think I can remember in a long time.
Right, yeah.
Having done TV for 10 years, believe me, I started working around Mercury retrogrades, and in even the radio show, I've had the same complications. So in hindsight, we're going to be talking about April, May, and June and kind of moving forward.
Uh-huh.
But maybe do the planet alert like you do, so that people then in the future can realize what they need to prepare for when Mercury does go retrograde again.
Okay. Well, when Mercury goes retrograde, it has a tendency to mix up mail. You know, you get lost mail, you get lost luggage, you get, if you're taking a trip, lots of strange things would happen, unexpected things, and it's just a time, it's not a good time to sign any kind of a contract because things usually go wrong. It just, basically, it messes up all types of communication when Mercury is retrograde. And then on a world level, it usually causes accidents like that huge ferry in Alaska, that went down a couple days ago. That's what happens when Mercury is retrograde on the world level. Is transportation accidents.
Yeah, I've certainly noticed, more problems with my car, my computer, electricity, more power outages, just mechanical things in general.
Right, and appliances in your house.
And isn't it true, I do know that there are corporations that are gauging the way that they do business based on a lot of astrological signs.
Right, but the good news is that Mercury goes direct in just a couple of days here.
We're happy for that. And the reason we're going to be airing the show is to try and also give people heads up about the second eclipse in March of 2006 this year that we're about to approach. So tell us about that.
Okay, could we talk about the lunar eclipse first?
Oh, absolutely, because, in hindsight, people can probably look back and see how that felt.
They can just see what happened.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's been a lot of violence over the Middle East, and that's because Mars was over there for so long. But the lunar eclipse of March 14th, it was seen, directly over the Middle East, and wherever it's seen, that's where it's the most powerful. And so being that it was directly over the Middle East, the violence over there really, really escalated. And that's how that one has worked out. And then we'll have coming up here, we have the solar eclipse. And the solar eclipse is more powerful than a lunar eclipse in the sense that it lasts longer.
Can you give us a little background into what is happening in the solar eclipse?
Okay, it's when, like in a solar eclipse, the sun is blocked out, and in a lunar eclipse, the moon is blocked out.
And is it the Earth moving in front of them, blocking them out? So it's us, actually.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I have to go back to my third grade class, astronomy.
Yeah. But anyway, so whenever the path of the darkness is, like with this solar eclipse coming up, the path of darkness where the sun will become dark, that it starts in Brazil, and then it goes up the Atlantic Ocean, up across North Africa, and then up across Europe and ends in Magnolia. And so that's a whole area that will be activated in the year to come. And so whenever a planet triggers that point in space, then events happen. And so that area will be very, very important, as the time comes. And there's lots of volcanoes in the Atlantic Ocean, and that can be triggered. And then the European countries, I think, will feel a lot of trauma from this eclipse, and also Africa. And because of the path of this eclipse, it's going to trigger more hurricanes coming in this summer. And there might even be more than this past year, which could be a little devastating for our Earth plane.
Well, so the Atlantic Ocean then being triggered and having the path. So you're talking about the actual path, too, where is it because of the better visibility as the shadow crosses?
Yeah, it just kind of activates the point in space, just kind of activates the area. And so this just, it just happens, it just like for us here in Seattle, there was an eclipse over Mount St. Helens before it erupted, and the path of the eclipse was exactly where the ash went.
Oh, okay.
And that's kind of how it works.
And, in retrospect, or what we call hindsight, it is amazing to look at the accuracy or the predictability or the navigation, maybe, of these planets and how as they move over our planet. And I will refer to the TV show we did following 9/11 and the fact that you lined up so many planets over that area. It seemed to be so predictable something major was going to happen there.
Right. And something major is going to happen after this one, too, because this eclipse on March 29th is going to be a little different, because right now the planet Pluto is lined up with the galactic center. And the galactic center is on the constellation of Sagittarius. And so when you have a planet that's lined up exactly by degree to the galactic center, particularly planet Pluto, because Pluto is the transformer, and it's very, very powerful. So Pluto will be transforming this galactic energy that is headed for Earth. And it's headed for Earth right now, because like a friend of mine was told by his guidance that there was a huge energy wave coming in on March 28th, which is just the day before the eclipse. And so if this is similar to the gamma ray burst that happened in December of 2004, then there might be a gravity wave that precedes this wave of light. And if that is the case, then there might be an earthquake, a large earthquake or volcanic eruption or something like that on the 27th, and then the wave would come in on the 28th, and then the eclipse on the 29th. So this is a very, very powerful eclipse. And then, when it does come in, then the energy will be reverted to the sun, and then from the sun, of course, it comes to us, and then we feel it, in our bodies. And whenever there's a large wave of energy that comes in, people tend to go kind of crazy, to get really whacked out sometimes. It acts kind of like a full moon.
Only more intense, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's much more intense.
Mm-hmm.
And so Pluto is over the area of like where the New Madrid Fault is. If you picture where New Orleans was, right down at the mouth of the Mississippi, and then you draw a line all the way up there, that's the New Madrid Fault. And so that's where Pluto is exact, and it affects both sides of it. And so Texas and Oklahoma, they've been having the fires and the drought and all that, and that's been affected. And so this is another point on the Earth that will be affected by this eclipse because of the fact that Pluto is affecting that area. And when a planet is affecting one side of the Earth, it's always affecting the other side of the Earth, too. And so the other side of the Earth that would be affected would be Pakistan and Afghanistan. And so we might hear some more news from that particular area of the Earth, too, as this eclipse proceeds and as this wave of energy comes in.
I know that we have a difficult time still tracking things like tornadoes and hurricanes, though at least you usually have a little bit of advance warning, and people are able to, leave certain areas that it's
right,
apparently going to be directed to. But even then, we see they can change course dramatically, rapidly, and
that's right, yeah. And just with Pluto, stationary, it's been stationary over the New Madrid Fault, which included the area where they had those tremendous tornadoes about a week ago.
So,
it just went up like I think it went up Kansas, goes right up the Mississippi River there.
Well, and having this kind of information, it's just really unfortunate that the Weather Bureau or TVs aren't, maybe alerting people to just be a little bit better prepared for power outages, for high winds, for predictability of events that these planets are pointing to. I find that's just it's a real shame that we aren't using that on a global basis, because the knowledge is, the information actually is very accurate and very predictable.
Yes, it does. Astrology does work. A lot of people have poo-pooed it for such a long time, but it does work, and it is a science, and it was an ancient science, and all of the famous people of the past, like Kepler and Newton, they were all astrologers, and people don't realize that. And they looked at the planets, especially Newton. He did astrology like I do, where he would predict things that were going to happen on the Earth, weather-wise and earthquake-wise and storm-wise. That's what he did in his time.
Well, and given that information, one might want to maybe take a trip and go visit someone on the other coast for a while, batten down the hatches, or at least prepare, stock up some food and water. Having that is just an indication. I don't believe that we can truly affect it. It's sort of signals. It's a message, and it's coming our way. And, for conscious people to be aware of it, I think that's truly important.
Right. Well, now they finally are coming out and talking about the weather, and because of all the ice that's melted up in the Arctic and in Greenland and in the Antarctic, it's just melting at an unprecedented rate. And so all that water is being put into our oceans, and there's already reports of the houses along the Great Lakes being flooded because of the water level, and different places along the coast where the houses have been flooded and the beach taken away because of this water that's rising from all of the ice melting.
Now, you and I both are familiar with, in the past, and if we look back into the ancient past too, prophets like Nostradamus, the more recent past, Edgar Cayce, we have even some very current ones, have all predicted changes in our coastline, changes in the weather patterns, earth changes. I think that's a mainstream term now.
Right.
Are we looking at weather patterns that you believe are being affected by just a change in our movement through the galaxy?
I think that we're being affected by a planet, what's called Planet X, that's coming in. And the people out there that have read Stitchkin's work,
Zechariah Sitchin?
Zechariah Stitchkin's work, his books, and he talks about how every 3,600 years this planet goes through our solar system, and it's part of our solar system, and when it comes close to Earth, then the Earth changes happen. And it talks about how the first thing to happen is that the poles melt, which is exactly what's been going on for a few years here. So it's kind of saying, well, hey, there's something to this planet coming in. And then there are a whole lot of people that are saying that this planet is coming in, and some even say it will be seen by May of this year. And so when it does come by, it causes a lot of earth changes. And we are in the tribulation, that's predicted in the Bible. As far as I can tell, we started in the main tribulation in September of 2000, and the 7-year time period will be up in September of 2007. And so that doesn't give a whole lot of time for the Earth to continue going through its changes. And I'm not negating the date of 2012, because I think that's when there's a a major consciousness shift, and where we'll then be living in a different dimension. But as far as all the earth changes and everything like that, they're happening right now, and we're really on a roll. And for the regular government to come out and say that they are concerned about the weather changes, I mean, that's kind of a major thing, And then the movie that Art Bell and Whitley Strieber made about The Day After Tomorrow, how he predicted, or how they predicted, that these changes would start, is exactly what's happening. And this started happening about 2 years ago when the current in the Atlantic shifted. And so it's just proceeding on with more and more changes happening, with all the tremendous hurricanes that's coming in, the flooding that's coming in. And another thing is that we have with the planets is that the planet Uranus, which rules change, is in the sign of Pisces. Now, Pisces is a water sign. And so until from 2003 until 2010, Uranus will be in that water sign. And so we need to look for many, many changes in the area of water and storms and flooding and ice melting and things going on in our ocean. Anything to that effect is felt while that planet is in that particular sign. But right this year, we also have Jupiter in Scorpio, which is a water sign. And so that also activates the water energy. But next year, we're going to have Jupiter and Saturn will both be in Leo, which is fire signs. And so it's will be a combination of fire and water that we will be experiencing. And
well, what you're saying is these are really intense weather patterns that
yes.
we're going to be faced with for at least the next year and a half to 2 years, right?
Right, yeah. As an example, like you could see the Hurricane Katrina, and the other ones that came in to the Gulf area, and at the same time, there were fires burning in Oklahoma and Texas, which wasn't that far away. So that's kind of what I mean by the combination of the fire and the water going on at the same time.
First of all, my sister is in a very small town that Rita was headed for, and it diverted a little bit. And at the same time, my brother-in-law was saying, well, we could use a little rain because we've got brush fires going on, wildfires starting up already.
Uh-huh.
So, quite frankly, we're seeing the extremes, it seems to be, and I believe what you're saying is that this is going to continue. And we really need to take a very close look at the locations we live and the paths that some of these weather patterns may be taking.
Uh-huh. Right. And then right now we also have some extremely powerful energy going on, because not only do we have the eclipse with Pluto there, but we also have the planet Mars. Mars is opposing Pluto. And that is a very violent aspect, and you can tell that by all the violence that's been going on the Earth. It's just been just too much almost, for a person to watch, and so this energy is still building, and so as this energy builds, it gets stronger and stronger, and so it culminates on the weekend of April 7th and 8th. And then it will continue on until the full moon of April. And so this is very powerful energy, powerful, violent energy that is in effect in our heavens right now.
In what area of the planet should we be paying attention to during that April time frame?
Because it's affecting the whole world.
More global?
Yes, this would be global, affecting global.
So we should maybe look at the whole global political arena.
Right. Yes, definitely. And because when President Bush came in, the first time he was elected, I said that he came in as a war president because his node, which is his destiny, is conjunct the United States Mars, and that's the war planet. And so he has been doing, what his destiny told him to do. Well, what is kind of scary here is that coming up with like right now, almost Mars is moving up to this 20 degrees Gemini, and that's like will be in effect at this eclipse, and so that's going to activate Bush's Mars and his Uranus in his chart, and so don't be surprised by anything that happens with this aspect, because it's conjunct his chart, and it's conjunct the United States chart, and this was kind of like the same aspect that was in effect when we went to war in Iraq, because at that time, let's say Pluto was on 22 degrees or Saturn was on 22 and Pluto was on 20 degrees. So we have that same polarity going on right now in just a few days here. And so I've been a little concerned on how this particular aspect is going to work out, because it is such a violent aspect.
So really we can look at it and realize that it's going to play out somehow.
Yes, it definitely will.
Because of that intensity of the planets. And they seem to, you talk about the planets, and I know when I look at my own personal horoscope chart, and it is amazing accuracy. Even daily I get it emailed to me. I'm so shocked sometimes by some of the things it tells me, because it's exactly some of the things I'm either thinking about doing or having happen in my life. So you talk about Mars as being, a war planet, and they take on personalities, but I believe, isn't quantum physics sort of proving now the vibrations are really what is having the effect, and that actually can affect whole planets?
Oh, right. Yes, definitely. So vibrations are everything.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people have sort of tapped into getting past what appears to be predictive, mystical kind of feelings when you use the term astrology, or when we talk about, even a full moon. And by now, emergency rooms and police stations are fully aware of the full moon, and they actually have to have more people in the emergency rooms and at the police stations during these times. So at least that's certainly noted. But I think to give a broader perspective about the other planets and the influence, I certainly appreciate the fact that you can bring that to us. We are talking with Mahala Gayle. We're talking about alerting ourselves to the planets and what's going to be happening. We're looking at our March solar eclipse coming up. We're going to look ahead to April, May, and all the way to the summer solstice. And you're listening to KXPA 1540, Journey with Brenda Roberts. So we'll get back to talking with Mahala Gayle and see what else is lined up. What else can we look forward to in April, or can we prepare for?
Well, the April full moon, this is April full moon, that's April 13th. This is kind of like where everything culminates. And right after that, Mars moves into Cancer. Now, Cancer is another water sign. And so, water always rules emotions. And so whatever transpires here with this Mars-Pluto thing is going to bring up a lot of emotions in people.
Oh, so on an individual basis, we need to be aware that all of our emotions are going to be heightened. That's scary.
Yeah. But, I think it's time for everyone to find the God that's within them, and to move into the peace. Because unless we have peace within ourselves, we're not going to have peace on the earth. Because, the song, let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. And then, by osmosis, it normally goes on to other people.
I have talked on other journey shows about what I believe now science is certainly using this new term, entrainment, and that our frequency, our vibratory rate, certainly can be from one extreme to the other. Hate and anger vibrate at a different rate than love and the peacefulness. And as you're saying, the planets are going to affect us. We're already affected by full moons and such.
Right.
So,
and there's another thing, too, that the scientists have discovered right now, and that's when like two planets make a perfect 90-degree angle to each other, or 180-degree angle. It's actually the vibration from them that causes the energy to come here. You know, because the planets like that in those particular degrees actually form a certain frequency, and then that frequency comes to Earth. And so that's just like with this Mars opposing Pluto bit, you know, the frequency for those two planets is what's coming to Earth. And then, of course, we have a belief system, you know, and astrology has been around for a long, long time. And so there's a certain belief system that astrology works, you know, because it's been proven so often that it does. And so when a belief system says that Mars and Pluto together are very negative, then we tap into mass consciousness, which has an old belief that Mars and Pluto is very negative, and so that's what we create.
Aha, therein lies our connection.
Right, and so we need to change our belief system. You know, we need to know that, well, like, you know, we could change our belief system that Mars and Pluto are very benevolent planets, that Mars brings peace to Earth, and Pluto brings good transformation.
Well, transformation can be good or bad, depends, just like you said, on what we believe, true?
Right, yes.
But energy's energy. I guess what it's boiling down to is that we're working with energy patterns here, and more intense patterns during different times of the year, during different times of the month, when planets move in different locations, affecting our planet with more intensity. So it's the energy then that we have to either sort of absorb, refocus, and utilize, because it affects us individually too.
Right. And there's one really important aspect out there that what's called the dragon's head or the moon's node goes through different signs, and it takes about a year and a half for the node to go through one sign. And so for the last year and a half, the node, the dragon's head, has been going through the sign of Aries. Aries is ruled by Mars. And so that's the energy that we've experienced on Earth for this last year and a half or so, or will be. It stays in Aries until the summer solstice. And then Mars will not be so dominant after the summer solstice.
And that date is?
That's June 20th or 21st? I think it's 21st. June 21st. Yeah, and so that's when the node changes and it moves into Pisces. And Pisces, again, is a water sign. And so we'll be feeling the effects of the water. And also they say that Pisces rules religion, you know, and so it will be the time when there will probably be some challenges to, as far as religious beliefs go, a lot of transformation on that area. And it Pisces, because it's ruled by Neptune, has a tendency to dissolve things. And so the control that the church has played on the earth will probably start to be dissolved when the node starts moving through Pisces.
Now we're looking at ages, age of Aquarius, age of Pisces, and can you explain a little bit about the age in which we're moving into?
Okay, well, we're moving into the age of Aquarius, and this is a major cycle. We technically started moving into the age of Aquarius in 1962, in February of 1962, when 7 out of the 10 planets lined up in that sign. And that's when the song came out, you know, we are, what was that? This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius.
Right. And the 60s with the,
right.
The, you know, peace signs and love and flowers in your hair. And I mean, really, it was a dramatic time of shifting.
Yes, it was. And that's when the age technically changed. And if you think back to then, you know, that's the age that we're going into, age of freedom. This is very exciting because, I mean, we've been so controlled on the earth for such a long time that to think that we're finally will be going into an age of freedom, I think that that's really awesome. And there's always a transition period. as you're moving from one age to another. And so the old age of Capricorn had to go out, which is money, materialism, business, control through those areas, control through the world banks, and so all of that has to go out and be changed before the total age of Aquarius can come in. So that's why. So we've been feeling both the energy from Capricorn and from Aquarius for the last 40 plus years. And so before too long, we will be feeling, we'll be totally into the age of Aquarius. And I think that happens in 2010 or 11 when Uranus goes into the sign of Aries, because that's a new beginning. And so I think that that's when we will totally be in the new age of freedom, and which means that the new age, that the old age of Capricorn and materialism and money control has to be totally transformed by that time.
Well, it sounds like
that's not very far away.
Be very significant events between now and then too.
Right.
In order for change to come and transformation to come, I always think in terms of the bird, that phoenix, who has to sort of die, be reborn, and return from the ashes in order to be transformed. Metamorphosis, a cocoon to a butterfly doesn't happen easily either.
Right.
it's a lot of a bit of effort there.
Right. Yeah. And I think that we're going to be having help from our space brothers and sisters pretty soon here too, because I can't see where us ourselves, can really change the Earth, because it's past, it's just too far. Like there's too much pollution, there's not enough oxygen in the air, the oceans are dead, all of that type of stuff. I don't think that we can really do that, but if we have help from higher advanced beings, I think that we would be able to transform the Earth. So I think that pretty soon we're going to be having help from a higher source here.
I think that our planet and archaeology and anthropology now and so much of the history is going to have to be rewritten, because there is such strong evidence that we have had interactions with other beings from other places and maybe even other time frames.
Oh, yeah.
I think the preponderance of that is now is going to just change everything, and you're quite right. It's gonna affect our belief system more than anything.
And the way I do Bible prophecies is a little different than other people do it. And as far as I can tell, the 17th and 18th chapter of Revelation was the downfall of the towers in the New York and the financial center. And then after that was the beam that came from heaven and caused the tsunami. And so that has already transpired. So now we're in the 19th chapter. And the 19th chapter talks about, in my interpretation of it, about the ships, the white ships that come from heaven, to help us. And so we're right there, right now.
Ooh, that's a pretty dramatic and prophetic statement to make, that we could be seeing some spaceships
right, yeah.
coming. But
unfortunately, because of the vibration of the Earth plane, we tend to make war with
whoever we meet. Yes,
whoever we meet,
and that's the truth.
Instead of meeting them in peace, we tend to be a little violent. So that's kind of a concern too.
That is a major concern. We fire upon anything that appeared to be coming into our atmosphere, I do believe. However, polls have shown that most of the population of this planet do believe we have had extraterrestrial visitations, if not, some interventions occasionally, and some civilization advancements in our ancient times as a result of these interactions.
Right, yeah. And the younger people, it's just old hat to them, because they've grown up with, Close Encounters and Star Wars, and so that's just a normal occurrence for them.
I think that is actually marvelous that so many of the movies and the writers were probably inspired to write some of the series, Star Trek and ones like that. Because, yes, you're quite right. I think there's a certain acceptance level already there. And if we can just do peaceful meetings,
right, yeah.
we probably would be far better off and get some assistance with technology to help reverse some of the damage that we've certainly done to our own planet.
Right, yeah. So I think the younger people will be fine, though, because it'll just be natural to them. It's the older people that may have a challenge with it.
And I believe those belief systems are so rooted in religion more than anything.
Yes, it is.
And yet there are certain passages in Ezekiel in the Bible, and wasn't it Elijah? I mean, they seem to be so evident that there was communications with other beings in biblical terms in the Bible itself.
Right, and there's artifacts on Earth, all kinds of it. If you really get down and research the history, I mean, there's artifacts everywhere, and there were giants. The Bible talks about the angels who came to Earth and married the daughters of men, and there were giants on the Earth.
Right.
There were.
Yeah.
They found grave sites all over the place that have skeletons from 12 foot to 18 foot tall.
Well, it appears that every culture, from Vedic to Aboriginal, Native American, Mayan, has all of these cycles and this era and these time frames that we're shifting. This lifetime is a huge shift, is a huge transition. And our planet seems to be going through, I guess our whole solar system is moving through a different area in our galaxy.
Yes,
so it's cosmic.
Yes, it is, yes. And there are larger cycles, than just the 2,000-year cycle and the 26,000-year cycle and the 240 million cycle, I think it is. Well, there's like billions-year cycles. And so it's my understanding that we're ending a many billion-year cycle. And that's pretty awesome to think about.
Yes, it is. And on a planetary level, I believe we've heard the term ascension used, which throws some people off because it has a little bit of religious connotation. At the same time, it just has quantum physics connotations, too. It's a raising of a vibrational frequency.
Right.
And it's measurable.
Uh-huh. And the scientists are finding out now, like with quantum physics, how mind controls everything and how we create our own reality with our mind. It's totally amazing with the things that they're coming out with.
Well, I like the idea that, a particle is a particle. It's a little sort of ball of energy until observed. When you put the observer part in it, it becomes a wavelength, which then can manifest into a material form.
That's right. And if more people would realize that they create their own reality by what they think, we might be able to change a few things here.
I have recently read more in depth the works of Greg Braden, and you and I both talked before about some of his works. And there is the latest one about the secret mode of prayer, which indicates that all prophecies are just possibilities, and that we can affect and choose a probability, thus creating that reality for ourselves in the way that we're looking at things, in the way that we even pray about changes, right. And that we have to see the accomplished end. We can't continue to petition in our prayers. We have to actually start giving thanks that it is accomplished, and then that observation that changes the particle or the probability, the possibility, to a different reality. It is totally quantum physics.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, the biggest challenge has been that we've created from our subconscious mind. Because we've been programmed with all the things what our parents told us was true, what our churches told us was true, what our schools told us was true, what the TV tells us is true. And so all this goes into our subconscious mind, and our subconscious mind accepts it as fact, and then our subconscious mind responds to that thought. And so I know that I've gone through a lot of process of working on changing what my subconscious thinks to bring in new programs so I can create from a different base than what I was taught as a child.
I do believe that the process that we're all going through, and you're pointing out that the planets and the energy from the galaxy, the very core of creation, is sending such waves of energy that it is forcing us to make decisions and make choices based on, like, it's black or white now. There's no middle of the road anymore. There's no gray areas. It's very strongly this or that. You know, our free will choices certainly here, but the decisions and the choices we're making are I think, more dynamic now and faster.
Right. And then with the planet Pluto being the transformer lined up with the galactic core, it's going to be there until September of 2007. So we're going to have that galactic energy coming in for, another over a year.
And that's transformational energy.
Yes, it is.
If we choose to use
high energy from the galactic core. Very high energy.
There has been two major events that I believe people that may not be familiar with them may enjoy hearing about them from your aspect, and that's the harmonic convergence, and then the more recent one, which I believe was called the harmonic concordance, but they were astrological in nature too.
Yes, right, and they were also like from the Mayan, because the Mayan calendar is so accurate, and the Mayan calendar is the one that ends in 2012. So, anyways, with the 1987, that was really a major event, because that was the first time that mass consciousness across the world were all on the same thought at the same time, and it was so strong that we jumped from the third dimension into the fourth. It pushed us right into there.
And so that's that morphogenic field, too. We're talking about how consciousness then combines with other consciousness, and thoughts combine with like thoughts. Once again, frequency.
Yes, right. Yep. And so we've been going through. Some people say we're still on a third dimension Earth, but I don't agree with them, because the fourth dimension is where everything that there is played out. You know, and so all of the dramatic things and all of the psychic awareness that has come in since then, it's been amazing. And because you can liken the fourth dimension to the astral level, and so everything that there is in the whole universe is in the astral level. And so we've been experiencing that, and that's why so many people have become psychically aware, because we jump from the third to the fourth dimension, and all of a sudden, things that we couldn't see that were in the fourth dimension, we could now see. And that's why so many people have seen so many strange things, and so many strange events have happened, because we've been moving through the fourth dimension. And that's where all of the wars and stuff like that are fought. And so once we finish going through the fourth dimension, jump on into the fifth, then we'll be out of the war vibration. And that might be coming really soon here. And this energy from the galactic center might totally help us transform into a higher dimension, which is, like you say, all frequency.
We've got a lot of good authors like Maciej Keku and Hawkins, and even one of the ones that we've read, Power versus Force, and talking about the energy levels. And it appears that there are at least 10 dimensions and different, frequencies and parallel universes and alternate realities. This is not science fiction. Yeah, this is not fantasy anymore. This is the real deal, guys. This is your journey. Right. Yeah. And our destinations aren't so predestined as we can affect change. We totally can affect which course we choose to take on an individual basis. And then as a mass consciousness, as we all think, we can all end up together in a peaceful community, or we can end up in Armageddon.
Right.
So is that how you see it
Yeah.
playing out too? I mean, literally different
Yes,
realities
definitely.
for different people.
There's as many different realities as there are people out there. Because everyone sees things from their own perspective, and from their own belief systems. And so whatever they believe or whatever they perceive to be true will be true for them, especially in this higher frequency energy. It's so much finer, and people just get to see, But one of the biggest things, the real challenge as we're going through these energies, I think, is to learn to love yourself, regardless of your faults, because you're God's perfect child, and it's not a good idea to judge yourself or others, because as you judge, so you be judged, and it's time to forgive yourself for all past mistakes, and don't hold on to grudges, and we're all moving into the higher frequency of the love vibration. And once you find your God within, that's your love center, And once you start manifesting that energy, then it doesn't matter what's going on around you, because you'll be feeling the vibration of love.
I think in very sort of simplistic terms, what we're going through right now is the final phase of, I believe, what some people would say is the in-breath now. I mean, the God breathed out, and we sort of all came out from a creative source and had these experiences. And then there's the kind of the bringing back in of these experiences, which then also says we went into the extreme of darkness and evil to experience everything we could in that murky water. But now we're coming back into a lighter, higher frequency, and bringing light with us, being able to do it physically in our body.
Right, yes. And like creation kind of comes from black holes, And so it was, I think, March of 1993, where all of the black holes started emitting one frequency, a new frequency. And this new frequency was just like on one frequency. It wasn't on the duality anymore. So technically we're moving out of the duality of good and bad, and we're moving into the oneness that everything's fine, into the love vibration, to the cosmic consciousness of we're all connected and we're all one. And that's kind of like what we're moving into right now. And this Earth, that was kind of like the billions of year cycle where we've been in the polarity cycle. That's what's ending, and we're going into the oneness cycle. And I think that's pretty exciting. People will finally get along with each other.
Yes, hold that thought.
Right.
And don't be making your signs in terms of wage peace, but choose peace. Highly different vibration there. Trying to wage war on all the bad things, and yet you're just supposed to move more gracefully into, like you said, the love vibration, and be it. Just be, start with that peaceful.
Because what you give out, it comes back to you.
Oof.
And in the frequency, the higher the frequency, the faster it comes back to you.
Yes, definitely. Knocks us on our proverbial.
Right, yeah.
Definitely. And it is a turbo drive time. You mentioned the Mayan cycle and that being more accurate, and that 2012 kind of looming in front of us, and yet it's rushing up like a locomotive, right. I believe. Has time accelerated? Are we really, is time shifting?
I think time has accelerated really, really fast. And I think that what's caused the time to accelerate is the computers and the information overload and the nanotechnology. It's just like, you think about your own day, and it just goes fast. And when you're on the computer, time can just be gone. You can be on there for a couple hours and you think, oh man, I was just on there for half an hour. Because it's kind of like you get lost in no time when you go onto the World Wide Web.
That it's amazing how you point out technology kind of does show us maybe a bigger picture. And Einstein and a great many other physicists and forward thinkers have certainly pointed that this linear time measurement and space continuum really is cyclic. It's not, and it's multidimensional. It's not linear. We can have a multitude of experiences at the same simultaneously.
Right, yeah. And I think that time, again, is a frequency. And when the frequency gets higher, the time goes faster.
Ooh. And then at the same time, I do know that there are a great many people, and psychics included, and some, people that we might consider mystics and masters and gurus that work with meditation get into what they call no time.
Right.
And they literally can expand or sort of compress the time they experience.
Right.
So that says we consciously
create it.
There is some control on an individual basis.
Yes.
So where we feel like we're just being, washed in this rapid tide, there is an ability for us to sort of pull out of that onrush and not let ourselves be crashed upon the rock, so to speak.
Right.
We can ride the waves better.
Yeah,
I think all this is navigational tools. How's that?
Okay. Yeah, well, that's what we're moving into, a period of no time. And that's what the Mayans, I think, were basing on their 212 on, is that's a period of no time. So I'm really anxious to figure out, well, how is this going to work? When we live in no time, everything goes on simultaneously, and that's going to be a whole new ball game for us.
Well, it sounds like the game that we're all experiencing it is more akin to the Matrix, and it is a vast illusion, and it is truly a game. Sounds like the journey we're on as we're watching the planets and ourselves moving into shifting of ages is up to us, isn't it? It's up to us how we play it out.
Right. So I think that we live in really exciting times, to be here for all of this, experience all of this.
It is, and I'd like for people to be able to know how to contact you, Mahala Gayle. You do what's called a Planet Alert. Perhaps there's a website, email address you'd like to give out.
Okay, my website is www.alcseattle.com. And my email is Mahala, Mahala 2 @webtv.net.
And you're listening to KXPA 1540, Journey with Brenda Roberts. My guest, Mahala Gayle, looks at the planets, looks at all these dimensional aspects of where we are on our journey and where we're going to be, where we're headed rapidly. We're looking at the fact that you're creating it. You're definitely doing it yourself. And we'd like to hear from you, too. This is KXPA. We can be contacted at 206-292-7800. If you'd like to have more shows, we're doing evenings from 5 to 7 of a spiritual nature, a little bit metaphysical topics, but it's not science fiction anymore. It's not fantasy. It's reality. And we just want to remind you, you're creating it with your very thoughts, and especially with your emotions, which drive those thoughts. So, Mahala, just a couple minutes maybe of a little advice, because you have pointed out we have got some heavy-duty things that looks like transformationally we're going to be going through in at least the next couple years.
Yeah. Okay, well, it might be a good idea to keep your eyes on the heavens to see what's going on out there.
Right.
And so don't be surprised at anything that happens, and whatever does happen, just look for the peace within yourself and just flow with whatever comes into your vibration, because that's the most important thing, is to be cool, calm, and collected, as this energy tries to just push us around and stuff like that. And so you have to stay calm and let the energy flow through you. And it might be a good idea, too, to stay grounded to Mother Earth, and you can do that by seeing like a cord going down into the center of the earth, and see this cord coming up to your feet and then go through your feet and on up to your head, and then you can take it out of your head, too. and then bring it back down again so you stay grounded to the earth as all of this goes on. And because when you're grounded, then it's easier to handle the stuff, because if you're ungrounded, then you can tend to be emotionally off-balanced. And so, and also to go out for walks in nature, or just to be in nature and be close to Mother Earth, because she needs an awful lot of healing right now. She's gone through an awful lot of trauma, and she would really appreciate your love and caring vibration right at this time.
Oh, I think that's such wonderful advice. Stop every day and have some moments of silence and connect,
Right.
and pray in a different way.
Yes,
Pray that it is accomplished.
Right.
Pray that there is peace and health and love for all, and just recognize this oneness that Mahala is reminding us of.
Right, and try to meditate every day too, or find your oneness within, your space with God, your silence within.
Turn off the TV and don't get caught. Yes, and sing more, dance more, laugh more, give more hugs, and accept more too. And I want to thank you again, Mahala, for giving us so much to look at and so much to contemplate. As always, you do it in such a loving way, so I appreciate the journey that you've shared with us.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on this journey. Tune in next Friday at 6 p.m. on KXPA 1540 for another hour of tips for the trip. You can contact me on my email, journeywithbrendaroberts@yahoo.com, or my webpage, www.journeywithbrendaroberts.org. Music, technical support, and my webpage is by John Pulling. One Shot Productions. Until then, enjoy the journey.